Greetings everyone, Andrew here, and if you don't know by now, today is Mardi Gras, the official day of Mardi Gras. And to celebrate this day, I'll be reading the Cask of Amontillado from the story from made by Edgar Allan Poe. I'm using literature.org. Please go check them out. It's the online literature library. So I believe it might be able to for all of your short story needs, I believe. So sit back, and I'll post a link to where I got the story down below, so you can read the story too. So here we go, guys. The Cask of Amontillado from Edgar Allan Poe. The 1,000 injuries of Fortunato I have borne, as I best could. But when he ventured upon insult, I vowed revenge. You, who so well know the nature of my soul, will not suppose, however, that I gave utterance to a threat. At length I would be avenged. This would be a point definitely settled. But the very definiteness with which it was resolved preclude the idea of risk. I must not only punish, but punish with impunity. The wrong is unredressed. The retribution overtakes its redresser. It is equally unredressed when the avenger fails to make himself as such to him as good done. It must be understood that neither by word nor deed I gave Fortunato cause to doubt my goodwill. I continue, as was my wont, to smile in his face, and he did not perceive that my smile now was at the thought of his immolation. I don't even know what that word means, but let's get to it. That is a little bit funny. Okay. He had a weak point, this Fortunato. Although in other regards he was a man to be respected and even feared, he prided himself on his connoisseurship in wine. Few Italians have the true virtuoso spirit. For the most part, their enthusiasm is adopted to suit the time and opportunity, to practice imposture upon the British and Austrian millionaires, in painting in gemmary. Fortunato, like his countrymen, was a quack, but in the matter of old wines he was sincere. In this respect I did not differ from him materially. I was skillful in the Italian vintages myself, and bought largely whenever I could. It was about dusk one evening during the supreme madness of the carnival season, which is Mardi Gras. Reason why I'm still wearing the mask. Hopefully it does not damage my face. So probably after a couple of minutes of reading this story, I think I might take it off, so we don't have to worry about me getting green face. So let's continue. That I encountered my friend. He accosted me with excessive warmth, for he had been drinking much. The man was mostly. He had a tight-fitting party striped dress, and his head was surrounded by a conical cap and belt. I was so pleased to see him that I thought I should never have done wringing his hand. I said to him, "My dear Fortunato, you are luckily met. How remarkable you are today! But I have received a pipe of what passes for Amontillado, and I have my doubts." "How?" said he. "Amontillado? A pipe? Impossible! And in the middle of the carnival?" "I have my doubts," I replied, "and I was silly enough to pay the full Amontillado price without consulting you in the matter. You were not to be found, and I was fearful of losing a bargain." "Amontillado! I have my doubts. Amontillado!" And I must satisfy them. "Amontillado!" "As you engage, I am on my way to Chessy. If anyone has a critical turn, It is he will tell me, Lucchese cannot tell Amontillado from sherry. And yet some fools will have it that his taste is a match for your own. Come, let us go. Whither? To your vault, my friend. No, I will not impose upon your good nature. I perceive you have an engagement. Lucchese, I have no engagement. Come, my friend, no. It is not the engagement, but the severe cold with which I perceive you are afflicted. The bowls are insufferably damp. They are encrusted with nitre. Let us go, nevertheless. The cold is merely nothing. Amontillado! You have been imposed upon, and as for Lucchese, he can not distinguish sherry from Amontillado. Thus speaking, Fortunato possessed himself of my arm, putting on a mask of black silk. Sorry, I have something in my throat. And a drawing requie closely about my person. I suffered him to hurry me to my palazzo. Okay. Okay. There were no attendants at home. They had been out to make merry in honor of the time. I had told them that I should not return until the morning, and I had given them explicit orders not to stir from the house. These orders were sufficient, I knew, to ensure their immediate disappearance, one and all, and as soon as my back was turned. I took from their sconces 2 flambeaux, and giving one to Fortunato, bowed him through the several suites of rooms to the archway that led into the vaults. I passed down a long winding staircase, requesting him to be cautious as he followed. We came at length to the foot of the ascent, and stood together on the damp ground of the catacombs of the Montresors. The gait of my friend was unsteady, and the bells upon his cap jingled as he strode. The pipe, said he. It is farther on, said I, but observe the white webwork which gleams from these cavern walls. He turned towards me and looked into my eyes with 2 filmy orbs that distilled the realm of intoxication. Nitre? He asked at length. Nitre. How long have you had that cough? My poor friend found it impossible to reply for many minutes. Now, those were actually fake coughs that I did. It was the part of the story, so yeah. So I was fake coughing to represent Fortunato coughing, so let it continue. It is nothing, he said at last. Come, I said with decision, we will go back. Your health is precious. You are rich, respected, admired, beloved. You are happy as I once was. You are to be a man missed. For me it is no matter. We will go back. You will be ill, and I cannot be responsible. Besides, there is Lucchese. Enough, he said. The cough is a mere nothing. It will not kill me. I shall not die of a cough. True, I replied, and indeed I had no intention of alarming you unnecessarily, but you should use all proper caution. A draught of this Madoc will defend us from the damps. Here I knocked off the neck of a bottle, which I drew from a long row of its fellows that lay upon the mould. Drink, I said, presenting him the wine. He raised it to his lips with a leer. He paused and nodded to me firmly, while his bells jingled. I drink, he said, to the berry that reposed around us, and I to your long life. He again took my arm, and we proceeded. These vaults, he said, are extensive. The Montresors, I replied, were a great numerous family. I forgot your arms. A human foot door in a field. The foot crushes a serpent rampant, whose fangs are embedded in the heel. And the motto? Nemo me impune lecest. I have no idea what that means, but let's continue, guys. Good! The wine sparkled in his eyes, and the bells jingled. My own fancy grew warm with the Medoc. We had passed through the walls of piled bones, with casks and puncheons intermingled, into the inmost recesses of the catacombs. I paused again, and this time I made bold to seize Fortunato by arm above the elbow. "The nitre," I said. "See it increase. It hangs like moss upon the boats. We are below the river's bed. The drops of moisture trickle among the bones. Come, we will go back yet. It is too late. Your cough—" "It is nothing. Let us go on," he said. "But first, another draught of Medoc." I broke and reached him a flagon of the grave. He emptied it in a breath. His eyes flashed with the feeling. He laughed and threw the bottle upwards with a gesticulation I did not understand. I looked at him in surprise. He repeated the movement, a grotesque one. "You do not comprehend?" he said. "Not I," I replied. "Then you are not of the Brotherhood." "How?" "You are not one of them. You're not of the Masons." Yes, I said. Yes. "You? Impossible! A Mason?" "A Mason? A sign." But let's try that. "A Mason," I replied. "A sign," he said. "It is this," I answered, producing a trowel from beneath the folds of my roquelaire. "You jest," he exclaimed, recoiling a few paces. "But let us proceed to the Amontillado." Be it so," I said, replacing the tool beneath the cloak, and again offering him my arm. He leaned upon it heavily. We continued our route in search of the Amontillado. We passed through a range of low arches, descended, passed on, and, descending again, arrived at a deep crypt, in which the foolishness of the air caused our flambeaux rather to glow than flame. Sorry. Okay, breathe a bit. And let's continue. At the most remote end of the crypt, there appeared less spacious. Its walls had been lined with human remains piled to the vault overhead. In the fashion of the great catacombs of Paris, 3 sides of this interior crypt were still ornamented in the manner. From the fourth, the bones had been thrown down and lay promiscuously upon the earth, forming at one point a mound of some size. Within the wall thus exposed, by the displacing of the bones, we perceived a still interior wraith, in depth about 4 feet, in width 3, and height 6 or 7. It seemed to have been constructed for no special use in itself, but formed merely the interval between the colossal supports of the roof of the catacomb, and was backed by one of their circumscribing walls of solid granite. Oh man, that was a big paragraph for me to read. Yeah, a bit better there. Yeah. It was in vain that Fortunato, uplifting his old torch, endeavored to pry into the depths of the recess. Its termination in the feeble light did not enable to see us. "Proceed," I said. "Herein is the Amontillado. As for Lucchesi, he is an ignoramus," interrupted my friend, as he stepped unsteadily forward, while I followed immediately at his heels. In an instant he had reached the extremity of the niche, and finding his progress arrested by the rock, stood stupidly bewildered. A moment more, and I had fettered him into the granite. In its surface were 2 iron staples, distant from each other about 2 feet horizontally. From one of these depended a short chain, from the other a padlock. Throwing the length above his way, it was but the work of a few seconds and secure. He was too much astonished to resist. Withdrawing the key, I stood back from the recess. "Pass your hand," I said, "over the wall. You cannot help feeling the nitre. Indeed, it is very damp. Once more, let me implore you to return. No, then I must possibly leave you. But first, I render you all the intentions in my power. The Amontillado! Ejaculated my friend, not recovered from his astonishment. True, I replied, the Amontillado. As I said these words, I busied myself among the piles of bones of which I spoke. Throwing them aside, I soon uncovered a quantity of building stone and mortar. With these materials, with the aid of my trowel, I began vigorously to wall up the entrance of the night. I had scarcely led the first tier of my missionary, and I discovered that the intoxication of Fortunato had in a great measure worn off. The earliest indication I had of this was a low moaning cry from the depths of the recess. It was not the cry of a drunken man. There was then a long and obstinate silence. I led the second tier, and the third, and the fourth. I heard the vibrations of the chain. The noise lasted for several minutes, during which that I might be hearkened to it with the more satisfaction, I ceased my labors and sat down upon the bones. While at last the clanking subsided, I resumed the trowel and finished without interruption the fifth, the sixth, and the seventh tier. The wall was nearly upon a level with my breast. I again paused, holding the flambooks over the mason work, through a feeble rays upon the figures within. A succession of loud shrill screams, bursting suddenly from the throats of the chained form, seemed to thrust me violently back. For a brief moment I hesitated. I trembled. Unsheathing my rapier, I began to grope with it about the recess, but the thought of it an instant reassured me. I placed my hand upon the solid fabric of the catacombs, and I felt satisfied. I reapproached the wall. I replied to the yells themselves who clamored. I re-echoed. I aided. I surpassed them in volume and in strength. I did this, and the clamor still grew. It was now midnight, and my task was drawing to a close. I had completed the 8th, the 9th, and the 10th tier. 10th tier. Okay, where is I? Yeah, I had to check to see if my video was still up. Let's see. Alright, I have finished a portion of the last and the 11th. There remained but a single stone to be fitted and plastered in. I struggled with its weight. I placed it partially in its destined place, but now then a low laugh that had erected the hairs upon my head. I replied to the yells who clamored. Wait, whoops, my bad. Okay, let me try it again. Wait. I struggled with its weight. I placed it partially in its destined position, but now there came from out the night a low laugh that erected the hairs upon my head. Okay, I read that part. It was succeeded by a sad voice, which I had difficulty in recognizing. It was as that of the noble Fortunato. The voice said, a very good joke indeed, an excellent jest. We will have many a rich laugh about it at the palazzo. Over a wine. The Amontillado, I said. Yes, the Amontillado. But is the doc getting late? Will not they be waiting of us at the palazzo, the Lady Fortunato and the rest? Let us be gone. Yes, I said, let us be gone. For the love of God, Montresor! Yes, I said, for the love of God. But to these words I hearkened in vain for a reply. I grew impatient. I called aloud, Fortunato! No answer. I called again, Fortunato! No answer still. I thrust the torch through its remaining aperture and let it fall within. There came forth in return only a jingling of the bells. My heart grew sick on account of the darkness of the catacombs. I hastened to make an end of my labor. I forced the last stone into its position. I plastered it up. Against the new masonry, I rejected the old rampart of bones. For the half of a century, no mortal has disturbed them. En passe requiescat. I forgot what that means, though. Wow, it took me over 20 minutes to read the story? Dang! But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed me reading the Cask of Amontillado. Remember, I'll click the link below to read the story yourself if you had a hard time understanding what I was reading. Also, make sure you guys subscribe to me, follow me on Twitter, and check out these fine videos over here. So, till then, guys, see ya!